So hello and welcome to your management case study exam webinar. This is the first introduction webinar that we always do for our students. So I am Devansh and I'm going to be the lead tutor at the management case study exam for your management case study exam in May 2020. And I will be leading all the classes throughout from the introduction through to our pre-scene analysis and then moving on to mock exams that we do. Now, throughout this particular course that we have created, throughout the whole entire syllabus that we create or testing methods that we create for our students, along with a lot of quiz questions, along with a lot of mock questions, which are really exam style based and help you working towards a positive exam day. Also, we are CIMA learning partners. We have been designated as a learning partner only because of our ability to help students and create a flexible study environment, making sure that everybody studies together in a more positive, in a more appreciative, and in a more, supportive environment, just to make sure that on your exam day you are confident. So, talking about the management case study exam again. So about the case study exam, first of all, there are a few people who might be, coming into the exam for the first time. They might be coming through the gateway route, or they're coming from other exemptions that they've received. So just a little bit of a brief on what is the management case study exam. So any case study exam that you're going to do with CIMA tests your knowledge, skills, and techniques from the three pillars within one simulated scenario. So what they're saying is any case study exam that you do, whether it be at the operational level, at the management level, or at the strategic level, you are going to be tested on your knowledge, on your skills and your techniques from the three pillars, which in this case is E2, P2, and F2. And all of your knowledge is then put into one simulated scenario, which they ask you in the exam, which is like a real work-like scenario where you have to actually answer, help them out with the problem. And this is taken at the end of each level at the CIMA professional qualification. So after your E2, P2, F2 exams or after any exemptions, you take the management level case study and then you move on to E3, P3, F3, take your strategic case study and towards your final goal of a CGMA. So for the management case study exam, the candidates are given a fictional case study before the examination, which will be released to us, which is like a fictional company, which is a company that does not exist, but it's just created for the purpose of the exam. So anything that you see in the exam, anything that you face in the exam, anything that you are asked in the exam is going to be based on that company. So it becomes very important to understand and make yourself familiar with the material, which is known as the pre-scene material which they release. It's a fictional case study. And then in the exam, you are expected to give solutions to the situations and challenges presented within the examination. This will require again your knowledge from E2, P2, and F2. Now, the case study mimics a role of any real life work scenario at each level of its qualification. All you have to do for a case study is put yourself in the shoes of the fictional company manager, whatever role you have been given, and make sure that you do it justice when you type out your answer. The management level case study examination simulates the role of a finance manager. So you are given the role of a finance manager. Going ahead, we learn what a manager is supposed to do. Now, learners who will complete this level are awarded the advanced diploma in management accounting. And this is what you need to be committed to achieve. This is what your hard work will give you if you put to the exam. And the exam is definitely doable if a set structure and a fixed pattern and regular studying is followed. A little bit more on the exam. As we know, it tests your knowledge on E2, P2, and F2. Knowing the basics of the exam blueprint core areas from the E2, P2, F2 material forms the basis of your answer. Now, exam blueprints are something new which has been introduced by CIMA under its 2019 syllabus changes. Now, earlier what students had to do was at least have familiarity with a lot of topics in E2, P2, and F2, meaning they had to go through the textbook or had to go through all of our notes, making sure that they remember almost each and every topic because anything could be tested. Now, CIMA has introduced exam blueprints. Now, exam blueprints are set number of topics which are core areas of the exam. You will be tested on these core areas in your exam, and these are topics straight away from E2, P2, and F2. So the bare minimum that you're supposed to do is study the exam blueprints. We will be going one step ahead of the blueprints as well and do some further important topics just to be sure, just to be confident throughout our class structure. We'll talk about the blueprints a little bit further. We're going to go into a little bit more detail. Bit more about the exam facts. Now, the exam is a computer-based exam. You will have 4 questions and a total time of 3 hours. Meaning, each question, they have given you 45 minutes. So, exam made up of 4 questions and 45 minutes for each question. Makes up your 3 hours. Now, each question will have multiple smaller or sub-questions under it. So, for example, question number 1 can ask you to do 2 things. Give me advantages, give me disadvantages, give me recommendations. So, they can ask you to do multiple things under a question. And all these 3 tasks, as we call them, need to be finished in the 45 minutes that they have given to you. So, when you see a question, when you see the multiple tasks that have been given to you, you have to type it out. You have to plan your answer, read the question, understand the question, make your points, type it out, and then check your answer in those 45 minutes itself. So you're supposed to finish all the subtasks within those 45 minutes, because after 45 minutes, the answer automatically gets submitted. You cannot go back to question number 1. So after 45 minutes are up, you will automatically be moved on to question number 2, and the time starts to elapse. You cannot go back and check answer number 1. So it's very important that you develop a skill, you develop a knowledge, you develop in your brain a tactic that you're going to use in the exam. How will you plan? How will you develop your points? How will you put everything? All of that we will tell you. All of that we will teach you step by step. That's part of our course. But as you can see, you have a lot to do in those 45 minutes. So your brain needs to be trained on what it's supposed to be doing as soon as the timer starts. So lots and lots of practice is what we encourage. Next, the case study updates. Again, what's new with the 2019 syllabus? So now your case study is not any longer called the integrated case study exam. The integration marks, which were earlier set aside for you to combine your knowledge from E2, P2, and F2. So for example, in answer number 1, they asked you about costing techniques. So you wrote this is a costing technique. You gave the different costing techniques. But if you were to give them something extra, like let's say somehow in your answer, build in team management, or somehow refer to an IAS, refer to an IFRS, where you are linking your E2, P2, and F2 knowledge in one answer itself, you are given something known as integration marks. But now all of that's gone. You don't necessarily have to do that to get extra marks. Because they have introduced the blueprints, which is core areas, the blueprints does the job of the integration, because the blueprints are integrative and cover different syllabus areas themselves. So integration marks are no longer awarded. The marking process has also changed. As we will see on the next page, you will now have indicative markings and timing hints on each question. So they'll tell you that subtask A should have 55% time devoted to it. Subtask B should have 45% time devoted to it. So that's something to your advantage. Now, each case study has its own syllabus blueprint called the ICANN statement. So like we have been speaking about the blueprints are also called ICANN statements. So what is, the role of a finance manager? First of all, we'll deal with that, then we'll go on to the other parts. So any finance manager in any business generally has these following roles, which we are going to indicate over here. So you have the responsibility for monitoring and implementing the implementation of the strategy in the medium term. So first job is you will need to monitor and implement strategy in the medium to long term. It's not really, with a horizon of more than 5 years. Whatever you give them should be between 2 to 5 years or 3 to 5 years of a time horizon. Generally keeping that in mind. So that's his first job. Second job is collaboration with colleagues from the finance and other disciplines to make the decisions concerning investment projects, product developments, product pricing, and it also drives or also wants junior accountants to support the role that the finance manager or the company is trying to achieve. So getting the work done from junior accountants, making sure they're happy, making sure the team is happy is also their job. Third, being involved in accounting decisions that affect the preparation of the consolidated statements of financial positions. So as you can see, you might have to make recommendations, you might have to make decisions on the accounting front of any particular task that they put forward to you. So if you look at it broadly, point number 1, 2, and 3, all of them combine your E2, P2, and F2 syllabus. So as I said, the role of finance manager is pretty wide ranging. It has to deal with accounting standards, F2 syllabus. It has to deal with costing, implementing, strategy, and all of that, which is your P2 syllabus. And in today's environment, digital ecosystems, all the digital platforms that you have, all the digital developments which are happening is covered within E2. So the role of a finance manager is pretty wide ranging. Now the management case study exam, a little bit more on the blueprints now. The management case study exam assesses the learner on 5 core activities that are most frequent, important, and critical to the work of a finance manager. So there are 5 key core areas which have been given to you, 5 key blueprints as we will call them. And each core area has multiple sub-core areas which you're supposed to focus on. Now, successfully completing this activity is directly reflected in the ICANN statements that showcase the competencies acquired by a successful learner. So in short, your major focus has to be to first complete or first thoroughly go through the knowledge that a management case study exam requires. First, the first key core area which they've given to you is evaluate opportunities to add value. So as we know, this is the job of a management accountant or a finance manager. So finance manager will have to evaluate opportunities and add value. And as you can see, this is the blueprint that we have been widely talking about. And it has A, B, C, D, and E, 5 key areas. And each area has multiple ICANN statements that you can use as a checklist to mark topics out of the textbook. So for a very simple example, under core activity A, the 4th ICANN statement is, I can explain which pricing strategies are appropriate. So this means that in your exam, they might ask you, what is the appropriate pricing strategy for your company, the fictional company that they give you, which will be released later on. So you will be able to answer this if you have good knowledge from the P2 syllabus, where you have studied, skimming, price skimming, penetration pricing, loss leader pricing, all of those different strategies. You will only be able to explain if you have gone through your P2 material, your P2 syllabus. So as you can see, these ICANN statements, just to show you a little bit of a mixture, Let's look at another topic, which is the last one. So it says under core activity A, explain the relevance of weighted average cost of capital. Now, weighted average cost of capital has been explained extensively in F2. So as you can see, under one core activity, there are different sub-core activities, and all of these sub-core activities, which we call I-CAN statements, are from different parts of E2, P2, and F2. So this is your integration by itself. Hence, there are no real integration skill marks. So you can take one topic at a time. You can pick up one topic and find it in our notes that we give to our students. We will also be creating a separate blueprint explanation document, which will be explaining each part of the blueprint. Each sub activity of the blueprint is explained, gives you textbook relevance as well. So you can study on it. You can go through it in one single document. You don't really have to go through all the pages in our notes. So we do that for our students, but you can also find them in the notes. In the notes that we give you or in the textbook, which is a lot more tiresome. So for our students, we make a full blueprint related document, which is about 30-35 pages explaining every single sub-core activity in the blueprint. So you need to use this blueprint thoroughly. You need to go through the blueprint bare minimum, each part of the blueprint at least a couple times before you take this exam. And when we do our mock questions at a later stage, all of our mock questions revolve around the blueprints itself. So we'll be testing you. We'll be giving you lots of practice. It's just your job to follow us in class. Now a little bit more on what has changed in the exam space. Now, like I mentioned, in the exam, you are given the time that you have to spend on each task. So as you can see, they're telling you that one section has one task. It is for 45 minutes, and there are two subtasks which you have to do. And both of them must be given equal importance of 50%. So if you have 45 minutes, and let's say you use 10 minutes to plan, understand, you have 35 minutes left. So then you will be equally distributing your time of 17 minutes for task A. You will spend 17 minutes writing, explaining task A. But once roughly your 17-18 minutes are up, you start with task B, because you need to give them equal detail for both. That's what has been said by giving you, that's the whole reason of giving you these percentages. Also, another hidden reason which I would call is marking. Now your case study exam, any exam is out of 100 marks, is marked out of 100 and is then scaled or weighted to 150 depending upon the difficulty of the exam. So you always received a scaled score whenever you're studying for CIMA. For any exam, they first mark you out of 100 and then they scale it to 150. For a case study exam, you need a minimum of an 80 out of 150 to pass your exam. Scaled score. But as a general rule, like I said, they mark out of 100. So if there are 4 tasks, each task is 25 marks. Correct? And under each task, they've given you 2 tasks and they've given you the percentage as well. So 25 marks for one answer, one subtask is 12.5 marks. So 12.5 marks for task A, 12.5 marks for task B. Now, generally in CIMA, they say that when you write 1 point, it gives you 2 marks. So one well explained, detailed point gives you 2 marks. So if it's 12.5 marks per subtask, you roughly need to write 6 to 7 points for each task. So you will be writing 6 to 7 well explained detailed points for task A. Same you will do for task B. So this is, like I like to call it, the hidden reason of why they give you these percentages. But in the exam, I always ask all of my students to make sure So whenever we do our practice, we do it on normal Word files, normal Word documents. So throughout the 25 questions of practice that we do, we ask all our students to write at least 2.5 to 3 pages on a normal Word file. Now, if you have the practice to write 2.5 to 3 pages on a normal Word file, if you continuously practice that for 25-30 questions, obviously in the exam, when you see something like this, your brain already knows what it's supposed to do. So when you've done a lot of practice, all of this you will automatically involve. You won't have to do it mechanically. So I told you the mechanic side of it or the more intelligent side of it. But if you keep practicing, if you keep working, you won't really have to calculate it. So this is something extra that the exam now does. Just to give you a viewpoint again of what an exam question looks like. As you can see, they've given you a small scenario over here. And then they ask you two things: a report on significant risks, and then any lessons that you can learn. So they ask you two things, and they told you that both of them are worth equally, 50% of the marks. So this is what an exam question will look like. And every question that you do with us as part of our course, as part of our syllabus, will also be the same way, same difficulty, and will test you in all these same ways. Now, let's put all of these technicalities aside. If you understand the fictional company that they give you, if you put yourself in the shoes of a finance manager working at that fictional company, if you feel that it's your company, you are working for the company, and you are going to be working for the good of the company, all of this which I just spoke about will come to you naturally, because everybody's working, everybody's had some kind of experience. So the more you immerse yourself in the role, the more reality comes about it. The more you will write the answer with empathy. Always think you are a part of that organization, and you won't have to consciously include every skill in your answer. It will come by itself. You don't really have to do it mechanically. Points to note a little bit: the case study is a standalone exam. You will not be required to go into the word by word detail of E2, P2 and F2, even in the core syllabus areas or the I can statements. It's just that you need to know the basics. You need to be able to explain it in your own words. You need to be able to explain it with clarity. So it's not an exam that's 100% based on your E2, P2, F2 knowledge. It's also the writing skills, also the business skills, also how you recommend, lead the change. It's a whole bunch of things, but the most, the part which can give you confidence is the I can statements, because once you know the structure, the skeleton of the answer, you can always add in the other skills. Now your detailed theory has already been tested in the OTQ syllabus, so it's not going to be tested in detail over here. Over here, moreover, you need to show your evaluation and application skills. Now the workbook that we make and the mock questions book that we do, all of that revolves around the I can statements only, and it will help you gain the confidence that you need. All of what we do is very specific to the case study exam, and it's very specific to inspire commitment, inspire confidence. Now, how we go about studying our way. Now, our way is tested. It's always worked for our students, and our students have done very well. You can see our testimonials on our LinkedIn page, Facebook page, moreover, our website as well. We have a lot of student testimonials on there. Now, I will be giving all our students easy and illustrative study notes. Study notes are part of our full case study package. So when you get easy E2, P2 and F2 notes, which are based on diagrams, and when you get a separate blueprint document that we will give you, which is explaining every blueprint topic, it becomes really easy for it to act as a checklist, and you can quickly go through the material. Now, after we are done with discussions of an I can statement, we'll be discussing them. We'll be having group discussions as well. We start to write exam style questions. You'll be doing at least 20 to 25 questions of practice. We write 15 to 20 over here, but you'll be doing at least 25 to 20 to 25 exam style practice questions. Always one thing to remember for a case study exam: there is no right or no wrong answer. Everyone can have different and varying opinions. That's fine. You can write whatever you feel is the right answer, but it's your job to convince the examiner. The exam is all about details, details, and details. How well, how easily, how detailed you explain your point, or whatever question they've asked you, how well you explain it is what the exam is about. If you feel that you will be able to give a good answer in one paragraph, no, has to be 2 pages to 2.5 pages in a normal Word document. And only when you start practicing, only when you have somebody mark your answers, like we do for all our students, exactly like the exam, when we mark them, show you the areas of improvement, show you the answers other students have written, that's when you improve. That's when you really learn. So this is just a brief on what the exam does, what the exam is about, what the exam entails under your new syllabus. There is a little bit more change as well with how we teach, with how we go through the stuff because of the new syllabus. And we'll be happy to include that in our webinars going forward. If you found this helpful, you can reach us on help@fintutors.com. You can go to our website, right on there. My personal number has also been left on the website. So from there, you can either text us, write to us, call us. We'll be happy to do an introduction call with you, help you explain our different options that you have. We'll do all of that. Our model is made to make sure that we inspire commitment, we inspire confidence. Now you have several options for your purchase with us, depending on how much support do you need. You can go to our website, check that off. So as of now, signing off. Thank you very much for viewing this video, and I hope you find it helpful.